Phil, how does the Association of Financial Advisors perceive communicating financial advice online, and what advice do you give to your members when communicating on social media platforms?
Good question. We support the use of social media as a vehicle to promote financial advice. We think it's a fantastic mechanism for advisors to educate their clients on all things related to financial advice. But financial advice, and particularly personal financial advice, which is required to take into account the client's personal circumstances, is a one-on-one interaction. And we don't really think social media is the vehicle to deliver that advice. So it has an important role, and advisors are using it increasingly, but it's more about education, helping people understand how they can make changes to the way they behave to improve their financial position and to be more successful in the future.
Brilliant. And could you offer some examples of your members who are doing great things on social media and using platforms to the benefits of their clients?
A number of our members are increasingly using social media, and for many, it's a promotion mechanism. For others, it's accessing leads to get new clients and put new arrangements in place. But there are a number of members who have taken it to another level, and they produce regular podcasts and social media activity that's generated a huge following. My eldest daughter, Sarah, in particular, has taken a great deal of interest in Victoria Devine from She's Got the Money. And she thinks that her podcast have done a fantastic thing to raise the awareness of finance amongst young females and to encourage them in the future to invest. But they need to be ready to invest. They need to make sure that they have saving habits that allow them to have money that's available to invest. So it's much bigger than just assisting them with working out what they might invest in, which really is something that can't be done via social media.
Absolutely. And as your background is in regulatory change in financial advice, do you think the tide is turning with respect to regulating investment discussions on social media?
I don't really think there's much room for change. I think the law is quite prescriptive. So you need a license, or you need to be authorised by someone who has a license to give financial advice. And when it comes to giving personal advice that takes into account the client's personal circumstances, there are some very strict obligations there. So it's not something that I envisage there's much room for change. We have to make sure that social media is used for the right purposes. It helps people to make those financial decisions in the future. It may also play an important role in helping them to avoid making bad decisions in the future. Making bad decisions is one of the big detractors from people's financial prosperity. So it can play a role, as can personal financial advice. So I don't think that there's much room for change. The regulator is always going to want to step in when people are providing financial advice without being licensed or authorised. And of course, we're very conscious that there are increasing issues with scams and using social media and the internet and other platforms for the wrong purposes.
Now, you say there is not much room for changes in regulatory advice, but financial advisors require a license to operate in a world where anyone can share an opinion online. Is there a grey area here, or is this black and white? Who do you think should be regulating social media?
So in my view, you need to have a license or to be authorised by someone with a license to provide financial product advice. So anytime you recommend a specific product, whether that's personal advice that's taking into account the client's personal circumstances, or it's general advice where you haven't taken into account their personal circumstances, you still need to be licensed or authorised. So the rules, the law is very tight on that, and I don't think there's much room for change in that space. And the government is not going to be comfortable to remove those protections that are in place that work for the benefit of consumers.
So what would you say to people sharing content on social media online without a license?
Okay, so the answer to that is quite clear as well, that you're allowed to talk on social media about financial matters, and that includes how you manage your cash flow, what you do to avoid unnecessary spending, what you do to balance your budget and make sure you have some money left over to invest. That's financial advice, but it's not recommendation of a particular product. As soon as you start making a recommendation about a particular product, you get caught by the financial advice regulatory regime. So you can do a lot on social media. You can help people to understand how they need to change their behaviours to prepare for a better financial future. You just can't make recommendations unless you have a license or are authorised by someone who does.